All right, he is our sports director at News Radio 1020 KDK at 93.7 The Fan. And for many years, he and I were shoulder to shoulder in press boxes throughout Western Pennsylvania. Him helping me get as many games on the air as I could because I loved it so much. And he and PJ Comanche and many others were a big part of your Pratte Pack back then. And we have much love for high school football. But as Jeff and I said, because we're not at those games each and every week like we once were when we were doing radio and I was doing TV, you know, it's kind of hard to keep track of everything, especially now with all the new classifications. And the thing that really confuses me the most, we lost the MAC conference. You and I talked about that last week, and I was very sad. But I'll be honest with you. Thank you, WPIAL. Thank you, PIAA, because the Beaver Valley Conference has turned out to be tremendous. And there's a big game tonight. Central Valley will be hosting Aliquippa. Can you even imagine? My money's still on the Quips, though. Yeah. Could actually not make the playoffs. First time that would happen in over 2 decades. Now, if Central Valley wins tonight, they are in the playoffs. But what a great conference that is.
Yeah, I think Central Valley they had a tough one last week.
Yeah.
So this is going to be like Aliquippa was the week prior, where they're coming off that big loss, and how do they rebound? I mean, both coaches are outstanding. They have long careers. They have bloodlines. They have great players. It should be a good matchup. It's a shame in these games because, once again, it's like Clare and Aliquippa. You have the great matchup, and then you have the lousy weather. I wish you would have had the nice weather again for this matchup. So we'll see what kind of factor that plays into this one. But I do like Aliquippa making the postseason. It just doesn't seem right. By the way, I feel like I should have like an R on my shirt.
Oh, yeah. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Marvel Comics presents. Listen. Here's something else. Maybe it's just me. With all the internet that I love, with all the wonderful shows and the things we do with our website I love, but I think people are actually coming out in droves, record-breaking numbers as far as attendance. I know, at least in the Beaver Valley Conference, that Aliquippa-Clareton game was sold out, and I know that this game tonight is going to be probably sold out at Central Valley, and last week against Beaver Falls it was sold out. So people still love Friday night under the lights.
Yeah, there's still some good matchups, and it's been entertaining from that standpoint. There are some teams that are in conferences where they can't compete anymore, and that's a shame for those fans because there are some, and the stadium I'm in is a lot emptier than it used to be just because they can't compete at that level. So you're having those issues, but you're also having some teams that are really finding some success in their new classifications. Another one is Gateway. Here's Gateway. The Gators kind of back now at 6-1 or 6-2 actually, and they're facing 6-1 McKeesport, which would be a huge test for them.
Yeah, by the way, they have won 4 straight Gateway at McKeesport tonight, as he mentioned. But here it is, 22 years, a head coach, high school football. He is the heir apparent to the throne of some of the greats that have come before him. But I think Jim Render is going to be around for a while, folks, and we're happy about that. But you got Bob Palco, 22 years at the helm. He, of course, at West Allegheny. Tonight, ladies and gentlemen, they take on Woodland Hills. Last week, they beat Hampton. Last week, Woodland Hills beat Moon. Between George Novak and Coach Bob Palco, are you ready? 13 WPIL championships and 498 wins.
That's amazing.
That is.
I guarantee it'll get to 499 tonight.
For one of them.
That's the one prediction I will make that I know will come true. And, hey, Woodland Hills is coming off a scare. They almost lost to Moon last week. I mean, that was a tight game. They were down. They had to come back and win that game. I imagine that has been something that has been brought up numerous times, and that George will have this team ready to go. And, you get into these games, I like West A just because I like their talent. Woodland Hills doesn't have the same talent they normally have. They don't have the guys going Division I as much as they had even last year when they had Miles Sanders. It's not a down year, but the talent in Woodland Hills is younger now. And rebuilding is not a word you use for Woodland Hills, but it is in a way kind of a rebuilding year for the Wolverines.
Game's going to be in Turtle Creek tonight. Man, what I wouldn't pay to be there. That's historic football, classic venue. Enjoy it, ladies and gentlemen, that great community of Turtle Creek. North Hills, they're on the come. They have 4 out of 5 as far as victories. They're going to be at Franklin Regional.
North Hills has kind of dropped out of that 6A. They're in that 5A category, and that has served them well. So you take NA out of the picture, you take Central out of you take some of these teams that have been beating them up over the years. Now North Hills can compete on a little even footing, and they're having a bounce-back year, and they're settling into this conference very well. And I like what North Hills is doing. This is an interesting matchup because Franklin is a team that used to be a lower in classification. They historically have a good defense. But North has numbers. We'll see what they do.
All right, Ryan Culberson, he, of course, Fort Cherry at Carmichael's tonight. In the last couple of games, he's ran for a touchdown, thrown for a touchdown, and caught for a touchdown. Let's give Fort Cherry, of course, ladies and gentlemen, when you think football, the former coach of the Cleveland Browns,
Marty
Schottenheimer, thank you, because I had a brain freeze there for a moment. Marty Schottenheimer, the head coach, I always think about.
Yeah, and Marvin Lewis is a Fort Cherry alum, has not been thought of highly this week. So it's been a tough week because he's been defending Vontez Burfict. But back to the high school. These teams have combined for one loss. And this is a good small school matchup.
Yep.
Carmichael's is at home, and you love the home field in these matchups. But either team could make a run here. They haven't been challenged to the point that they'll be challenged tonight.
All right, last thing. It's been a couple of minutes since I mentioned Terry Francona, so let me mention him again.
Tito.
Is this not great stuff, Jeff? Come on. I mean, you're a sports director. You're plugged in more than anybody. You got John Pratte out there for FanRag Sports and today's knuckleballer, one of the best in the business. He, of course, Western Beaver grad. He and Terry, I believe, the same age or close to it. And you got Terry out there in all of Beaver County, all of Pennsylvania on this side of the border, Eastern Ohio, Panhandle of West Virginia. First time, you're... Since 2013, he's been with them, but the first time since '97, and they haven't won a World Series since '48.
He's been down this road before, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's been on a franchise where he's led them to that milestone win in the World Series. Terry's he's a player's manager, but he can also be tough. He knows how to work a room, and who he reminds you of is the man from just a little bit north of him, Chuck Tanner.
Ooh,
and how he was able to
good analogy.
Massage egos. He was able to make it work.
But play ball.
But he knew exactly what buttons to push with different guys. And what he's getting out of this Cleveland team with two key members of the rotation out. I mean, think about that. 2/5 of your rotation is out. Two guys you would count on in the postseason. The way he's worked this bullpen and Andrew Miller and what he's done with these guys has been remarkable. He's thought outside the box. He's thought about getting that win today, but yet somehow figuring out how he can get these guys to play tomorrow. Joe Madden, personally, I don't like him. His comments on Jung Ho Gung, I think he's a jag-off.
He won't let it go.
Be real.
He won't let it go. So you'd
But
like to see the Dodgers win this thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And then if the Cubs get in it, I'll be rooting hard for Cleveland. I like the team, though. It's a great team. It's a great fan base. They just have a jag-off manager.
All right, last thing before we go. Tell me how you really feel. If Terry wins this, I think it's already done. And I talked to Jim Eccles of the Beaver County Times, and I haven't had a chance to talk to John Pratte about this. I think he's a Hall of Fame manager.
Terry?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if he doesn't win this?
Yes.
Enough said. Jeff Hathorn said it. It's gold. Ladies and gentlemen, he's going back to work. Enjoy Friday Night Lights, and let's go Cleveland!